Hi, I'm Christine Cushing and welcome to another helping of My Favorite Foods. Today it's all about comfort food with a very classic and warming bowl of slowly caramelized onions, a flavorful beef broth, a bubbly and stick to the roof of your mouth Comte cheese. Here comes French onion soup. Allons-y. French onion soup. I mean, it's not just my favorite, it's everybody's favorite. So I want to show you my little tips and tricks. Of course, the first thing we got to deal with are onions. And I'm going to say a mess o' onions, lots of onions. Before we start any chopping, you must have a very sharp knife. So we're going to do a little sharpening. If your knife is dull, you're going to hate me. I'm just saying right now. You need a sharp knife. If you don't have a sharp knife, you can use a mandolin. And failing the mandolin, you can throw the whole mess into the food processor. Now, we slice. Okay, and repeat multiple times. You need a lot of onions to make a great French onion soup. Step 1, olive oil and butter in combination in my pot. Right now I'm just making sure that all the onions are nicely coated in that olive oil butter mixture. I'm going to put the lid on and this will take between 20 to 25 minutes. Low heat. This first phase, what that's actually doing is steaming the onions. So that's going to soften them without actually having too much color. And here's the thing, if you try to make this in a hurry, it's not going to work. You need to slowly caramelize those onions. You need to coax out that sugar gently. So this part, phase 1, 25 minutes. You see how soft those onions have become in terms of they're much more tender, a lot of moisture in there. And now they're ready to be caramelized. So that's phase 2. Before I was on low heat, now I want to not really crank it, but go to a medium-high setting. I do add a little bit of salt here, just again to help that caramelization and to season. Smells so oniony, it's crazy. So now we can talk a bit about the cheese and how did that make its way into this amazing dish. Because this is really a Parisian dish. It's a classic. You go to any bistro in Paris, you're gonna find French onion soup. This first cheese is a Comte from the Alps. It's unpasteurized cow's milk, and it's been made for hundreds of years in the mountains of France. This one you're probably more familiar with from Switzerland, a Gruyere, which is named after a town. Again, unpasteurized, it's also a great option. Without sounding hoity-toity about what cheese is a living thing. Cheese is like wine. When you go to the supermarket and you buy that block of Swiss cheese with the big holes in it, let me tell you, it's rubber. You can put that on your car, on your bicycle. That's rubber. This is a great quality that's going to melt and give you that amazing flavor in this soup. I recognize in some places in the world you can't get that quality of cheese, but if you ever have access to it, you got to give it a try. So what do you think I should go with? I'm going to go with the French. If I don't eat it all. Oh, that's good. So look at how caramelized those onions have gotten. So I like to do this with the white wine just to pick up all those crispy bits. Because that's that dark, deep, rich color and flavor that makes the classic French onion soup. Yes, the beef broth is going to add a bit of color, but my friends, it's all about the onions. The onions have top billing in this recipe. Everybody else is just a bit part. Here now I have ultra concentration of crazy onion flavor, super, super sweet. So how am I going to create the balance and lift this dish up? So a little bit of herbs. I'm just throwing in classic, again, some thyme. I've already chopped it. I like bay leaves. They are in the classic recipe. I'm adding a couple in. And at this point, I also add some slivers of garlic, just again to give it a bit more dimension. And we're gonna go in with a little cognac to make it even more French. You know what I'm saying? Now shall we talk stock or broth? I always like to make my own broth, especially for something like this, because I've taken all that great time. This is a combination of some chicken stock and some beef broth that I've made, or beef stock together. And I find it really fascinating how this dish kind of changed over the years. Originally, it was a hangover cure. So people would drink all night. What else is new? And then they would look for that cure, and, you know, soothing, cooked, slow cooked onions. That was the thing. Plus they were cheap, right? Everybody has onions available. That's what was going on in Paris. And then at some point they started to add the cheese, and then that gave it a little bit more, you know, body. And then was sold, and this was famous in the area called Les Halles. So those were the markets in Paris where it was bustling and people would be working all night. And sometimes this would be even breakfast food. You know, imagine this first thing in the morning after you've been working all night in the cold and slugging boxes and fish and meat and everything. I can totally imagine it. They would always add a little bit of flour. I don't like to do that. That would add a bit of body. What I do add is some Dijon mustard. So like a teaspoon and a half of Dijon mustard. Not essential, but I really love what it brings here. And a little bit of salt and pepper, and then really doesn't cook too long because you've done so much work already with those onions. Like, man, they were cooking a long time. Little salt, little cracked black. "20 or 25 minutes later, ta-da! French onion soup is almost ready." Nice caramel color. One thing I want to do, I always want to make sure, is taste before, just for final seasoning. Okay, so I just want to adjust that. Is it salty enough? Is it peppery enough? Is it yummy enough? That is good. Now, I've got my broiler on, full blast. I've got my beautiful little heat-proof specific French onion or gratiné bowl, because really this makes all the difference. Anything that's heat-proof, it doesn't have to be fancy or it doesn't have to look exactly like this. So I want to fill it. I'm actually going to do it here just so I don't burn my hands. The key here to get that perfect top is you want to bring the soup as high up to the top as you can. I mean, this is a monster size. This is almost like a half a liter of soup. These things are huge. But whatever vessel you have. I like using, this is sort of 2 or 3 day old baguette, any kind of really crouton that's toasted. Broiler is set. This is exaggerated for visual purposes too, because I want to get all that bubbliness. It's going to go in there for whatever, until it's done, 3 or 5 minutes. Oh, it's gonna be good. My nose is telling me, ooh, there's some gratiné happening here. Okay, I want to be very careful because this is crazy hot. Oh, man, does that look good? Does that not look like a French bistro served this to you? I want to let it sit. The beauty of this French onion soup is really in the nose. I can already anticipate what this is going to taste like. Look at that. Cheesy, gooey, amazing goodness. That Comte cheese, I'm telling you, makes a huge difference. It's got such rich depth and the texture is much more delicate. I feel like I'm in Paris. Honest to God, I close my eyes, that's where I am. All of that real depth in the cheese and the onions all comes together in this perfect dish. Thank you for joining me on another helping of My Favorite Foods. We went to Paris for a beautiful little bistro dish. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, tell me what you want help with, and like everything because we want to grow this channel. Thank you.